In this video, we're going to give you a sneak peek of something we've been working on for the past few weeks. So if you're familiar with Vertex, you know we have a canvas surface output concept, which is super flexible, very, very advanced. You can do XR studios with the thing. You can do complex LED mappings. You can do complex projection mappings. There's a lot of things you can do. But sometimes it's just a bit too complex and you just want to do a simple layout of a bunch of LED screens or a bunch of projection surfaces. And for these kind of applications, we've created something new inside of Vertex, which doesn't replace the surface concept, but kind of enhances it with a different workflow you can use. And I'm going to give a little sneak peek of it. It's called our destination and composition workflow. So to dive in, we're going to set up a small stage with a center LED and two side LED walls. I'm going to create a destination, give this a little name. I'm going to call it my center LED. There we go. And now you can see the destination has only a few settings. In the canvas, I can give it a location and a size. I'm going to bring the size down to 1000 pixels by, let's say, 500. And I'm going to do the same thing for my output. So 1000 by 500. There we go. And I'm now going to assign it to my canvas. I'm not going to worry about the output yet. I'm just going to put it in my canvas. So I got my center LED screen. Going to create a new one. Going to call this one my left LED. There we go. And I'm going to give it, let's say, 250 in width and 500 in height as well. And another 250 in width and another 500 in height. Put it into my canvas as well. And as you can see, we have it here. Bring it over, let's say minus 600. I'm working out of the center, so minus 800 maybe, a bit much, minus 700. There we go. So I have a super simple setup with an LED on the left-hand side, a center LED. These are our two destinations. And now we have a bunch of ways we can work with them. I'll show you just a short overview of which ones we have. Down here, you can show the destinations. You can see they get this little blue overlay indicating they are now a drag and drop target. If I go ahead, grab a movie, drag and drop it onto this LED, it will go onto that. Grab this one, goes onto that one. Creates a new track here for it. So this is one workflow you can use, but you can see what happened here. The content is now scaled into this destination. If I go to my destination, click on my center LED, you can see it has a scale mode. I'll put this to, let's say, horizontal fit, and it will scale up. On the other hand, on my left LED, I'll go to my vertical fit, for example, and it will scale it up there. So even if I bring in a different content, replace it here, there we go, it will automatically scale into that destination. If I decide that I have to move my destination, so I'll grab my center LED and I'll start to move it, you can see the content moves with the destination. It's really locked to this thing. Pretty useful to get things set up very quickly. You can still see, just for the fun of it, I'm going to assign the center LED to my system output for now, just to give you a little insight of what's happening there. So if I now switch to my system output number 1, you can see I have the destination here. I can still move it around in my output. I can even rotate it if I need to. If I'm having, let's say, a rear projection or an LED wall controller, which is a bit funky, I can even flip them in any direction. And for advanced compositing, you can also go ahead and do a Z index, so to actually layer things in depth as well. For now, we'll just leave it like this, put it wherever you want. Don't forget, you can always go to your system output and then say use top left coordinates. That will make your life a lot easier when you want to align it, let's say, on an LED processor, and you want it to be exactly where people give you the values for. So in short, these are the destinations. You can use these destinations now as clip targets. So you can see when I click on a clip, I can go to my clip target, go to destination, and I can choose my destinations from here. I can also go onto a track, go to settings, and then I can choose the clip target for the track. So everything I put on that track goes onto that destination. That's half of the fun, but where it gets really fun is we can now combine these destinations to compositions. In many cases, you're going to have a timeline which you have a bunch of files all doing more or less an individual area of your content. So let's say your content producer delivers your files for your center LED wall and your left LED wall as separate files. You're always going to have a timeline which you'll always have two files for the same scene. Here, this is pretty easy, but we have installations with over 70 outputs, and there you'll have a ton of tracks which all have one video content on them, which can make it quite messy and also has quite an impact on performance, especially if you're working with tens and thousands of clips. That's just something your system has to process, and there's ways to get rid of that. So under Create, we're going to go here and say create a composition. The composition at the moment has one slot. I'm going to call this slot here center LED, and I can give it a destination. I'll say destination center LED. There we go. I can right click on the slot and say add composition slot. I get a second one. I'll call this one left LED, and I'll give it the composition, the destination left LED. There we go. If I now drag and drop this composition onto my timeline, I get a container with two slots, which I can now simply fill with content, which will behave exactly as I want them to do. You can think of compositions as PowerPoint master slides. So the composition itself doesn't have any content. It's just a layout. It defines which piece of content goes where, and it has some base functions, for example, like fade in, fade out, which you use quite often. So I'll give it 10 frames fade in, and let's say 20 frames fade out. And then if I drag and drop the composition onto here, I zoom in, you'll see that it has the fade in and fade out already in the clip container. So bring in a piece of content here, it will adjust the length because this one's a bit shorter. And now I have a fade in and a fade out, because in many cases, this is something you have to do all the time. And it's pretty simple to kind of, manage that inside of the composition. You can also go ahead, grab two destinations, right click and say create composition from this destination. Then I get a new one. And now I can also go to a track as I go to this one, and I can select a default composition for this track. What happens now is if I click on two files, I'll say glitch and gold, drag and drop them onto this track. Do I want to adjust the length? Yes, I do. Bam, I get a composition which is automatically filled the two slots with the two contents I've selected. So this is really, really fast if you need to get repetitive tasks done. Let's say in a stadium, mapping out your advertisements, in a fixed install where you have a bunch of clips delivered to be played back per scene, or on a stage where you just have different areas and different things you want to play back. So this is hopefully going to be quite some help. There's a lot more behind this, but this is just a first little sneak peek of what we're working on. And we'll be having a little explanation video done by our gorgeous Ingmar shortly, explaining how these things work in detail and which other features are hidden in there. Hope you enjoy.